Previously on the Tales of Hybris, we got to meet Riku and her underwater ruin explorers and got to meet her leitmotiv. We also got swallowed by Sin once again and reappeared on the beautiful Isle of Besaid, where we had our first leitmotiv reappear in the Blitzes, which had Tidus' theme in it.
In that scene, we also met the sports bro walk-up, whom we impressed with our Spira shop. He wholeheartedly welcomed us to the island and told us a little bit of backstory about Sin and the first bits of the relation of Spira to the melancholy of wandering.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Tales of Hybris. Video game music as an essential part for storytelling from the perspective of a professional musician.
And a music producer. Today, we're going to continue where we left off last time with some nice warm bromance in Waka's strong arms. We are going to take a stroll through the Isle of Besaid, accompanied by its beautiful scenic theme. In Besaid Village, we are going to hear an imaginary guitar duo play Spira Unplugged, where a new leitmotiv is introduced. We'll learn more about religion and the summoners in Besaid Temple and meet most of the main cast.
We get to hear the Hymn of Faith, the religious theme of Spira, which seems to be diegetic to the world, which means the people of Spira can also hear and sing the hymn. We got to know Yuna, who is another one of the main characters, and see her perform her first summoning. We will get to know more about Yuna in the next few episodes. If you like what we do here, go on over to Patreon and support us at patreon.com/Hybris Collective, or get in touch with the Hybris Collective for your next video game project.
So, praise be to YouTube Jevon, and please the face of the algorithm with some thoughts and comments. So, let's dive into Waka's arms.
Alright, so the next theme is going to be the main theme of Besaid Island. This is going to follow us through the whole story of this part of the game. And the next scene, I mean, it's really cool for like showing the beauty of Besaid and also like a really cool theme to bond with Waka, I feel.
Yes.
Like, because like, as we said in the beginning, in the first video, like this is one of the islands that's really inspired by those like Thailand and all the others. Osaka was in there.
Those kinds of islands. And it's also like it's really the chillest one you're at. It's like there's nothing really bad happening here. It's just this tropical island thing. You walk around, you meet some people, you see the village, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, I think the last one where there's no major negative or sad thing happening in some regard.
Yeah.
Everywhere
probably.
else, like, somewhat catastrophe follows us.
Yeah, that's fair.
Or precedes us.
I mean, catastrophe did precede us here because Sin brought us here. But
That's true.
that's a different point again. All right, so for the story, it's basically about like the bonding of Waka and Tidus. It is Waka wants us to join his blitzball team. So first of all, it starts off with we going to like the next area and Waka wants to show us something. And we just look into the water, and then Waka just pushes us into the water.
Yeah.
And seemingly has fun. He's like, what are you doing? He jumps after us, and then we swim around a little bit, and he basically like takes us into a chokehold or something, and it's like, and laughs when weirdly, and Tidus is like, all right, so you want me to join your team, right? Yeah, all right. And so, yeah, Tidus doesn't really care at all. He's like, yeah, all right.
Whatever.
I'll do that. I'll do it. And Waka's like, yeah, our team's gonna rock, Jay. It's like, Waka doesn't give a fuck. Tidus doesn't really care at all. And
Instant newfound confidence.
right. And he also says that he wants to get us to Luca, which is apparently the main place for blitzball, because he's sure that we will find somebody we know there.
Yes, since blitzball seems to be like the only connection that we/Tidus has to 1,000 years ago, basically.
Yeah. And Tidus also mentions this in one of his inner monologue.
Remembrances? Or what do you mean? Or like when he
the off
narrates.
voice, the narrator. Thank you, the narrator. So Tidus also mentions this in his narrator voice there, that he thinks that Blitzball and Sin are the only things that Xanarkand and Spira have connected, basically are connected by. And Also, Walker tells us that he never won a game in all the time he's played Blitzball. So
Still keeping at it,
Yep.
which is its own regard, kind of.
That is true.
Like, it's something.
And he's been playing for like 10 years. And also we get a little backstory of Walker, that he is really into Blitzball because he used to have another job before that, but he always thought about the game and then things got messed up, which is going to be a thing that's coming up later.
Yes.
A bit more in detail. And so Tidus like, yeah, but we're going to win. Like, all right. So we just want to do our best, you know. No, we're going to win. All right, sure, let's go.
If you don't play to win, why play at all?
Yeah, that's basically Tidus. So another like character trait of Tidus showing way more again from like this first like melancholic kind of, I don't know what's happening to. You know what, let's make the best out of it. We're going to win this.
To the top.
Yes. Also, we're meeting the Crusaders, which has like this really stupid line. It's like, Tidus, Tidus is like, who are they? The Crusaders. Cruiser what? Like, okay, sure. Whatever. It's kind of stupid, but also kind of fun. And Walker's cheering us up again because once again, we don't know anything that's happening here. And he wants to help us, and we want to help him out by winning the tournament.
Yes.
That's what we kind of promise him. So let's dive into the theme, I say.
Yes.
So I guess you want to start off with the original, right?
Works better for me. That's the one I'm way more, and know way better.
So let's start off with the original.
Yeah, we established the baseline at first, which is gonna basically run throughout the whole song, I think.
I think so too, yeah.
I don't miss a little spot here and there. Yeah, next part that's coming in is this like arpeggio, ostinato, this fast movement in the synths.
Yep.
And on top of that, we get the melody.
This kind of cool rim shot thingy.
Yeah,
we
have that. Some strings coming in. Yeah, if you want, you can pause here already.
Yep.
Because by now we basically established most of the elements that the song's going to consist of. What I really find interesting about the song from like a harmonic standpoint is that basically it feels like the whole piece is written in D major. We have like here, because the ostinato that we heard is, I'm not playing it correctly, but it only uses those notes. It always stays in these. The main melody is also that's basically D major pentatonic scale used here.
Top player, I know that scale.
Those are the notes that it consists of. That's all that's there. So that's also centered in D. So like it feels like very okay. D seems to be a tonal center, but what the bass line does the whole time is being on G. Basically, it's always that's the root note. That's what happens underneath the whole time in the synth bass.
Basically established right in the beginning, right?
Here it's A. This. But the very low note to me sounds very much like a G.
Yeah, I'd say so too.
So that's kind of interesting to me because this somewhat puts it in the realm of G major, basically. Because especially since we mainly use the D pentatonic scale, which doesn't have the C sharp, which would be the one note. Like if you play on D, like a D major is just. So we have two sharp notes. We have the F sharp and the C sharp. And playing G, we have the F sharp is in common between the two, but the C sharp doesn't really show up in the melody or the ostinato in the synth or anything. So it somewhat, with the bass notes, it gets pushed into the realm of G major in a way.
Okay.
But for me, like, everything except the bass is so strongly centered around that D that I would still say the whole piece is written in D major.
Okay.
From my perspective, but I guess you could argue, because you often refer to the lowest note, bass note, as like the strongest anchor point for where you put a piece harmonically, if it's not like a slash chord or something like that. So yeah, but I think it makes the whole, it helps to keep the soundscape of the whole piece more interesting. It's like we were not only in D, which like I guess would become boring pretty fast. It's just with this pretty simple trick of having the G in the lower notes.
This one simple trick.
This one simple trick.
Composers hate it.
Uematsu hates this simple trick. 9 out of 10 Uematsus.
Anyways.
Yes. I like how that works. There's also, at some point, there are strings coming in, which also mainly are like in work in D chords.
Which is somewhere here?
Yeah, there you hear them. We have the D as a top note. These are the two top notes that it's working with. Now we have the F sharp. And then we stop in the A.
Okay, so we have a little bit of an ascending there again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Going up, an upwards movement within the strings.
And also we have these really, really weird bell sounds there again.
Yes, the detune bells. Which also, I don't know, those are all the elements that I really like about that piece, because basically it's, again, like harmonically not a lot's happening, or basically nothing in a way. It's always, we have the same root note through the whole piece. We have always this D major sound over the G, somewhat, but together with the move, at first, as we already discussed, the G and D somewhat working together, and then the detuned bells and all that, it just helps to like keep it interesting, I would say. It's just like you never get so used to it that it just feels like, okay, no, this is just, I got it. There's always new things coming in, which basically is what you have to do. If you don't like do a lot of harmonic movements, you're gonna have to find other ways to work with sound to keep the piece interesting, to keep it evolving, because usually you want to have some evolving in your piece to some degree. If you're not like doing it try not to make a point out of no evolving happening, evolution. I'm not sure what the word is here. But yes, these are like the things I found the most interesting about it.
What do you think about the melody?
I think it's so repetitive that I would almost call it more like maybe a motif.
Yeah.
Because it's always this. And the only variation is that the second time it
goes up.
Goes here. And other than that, it always repeats. So I guess it's a melody, but for me it's more like another motif that's put in there as another layer to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Similar to the fast synth in the background.
Yep.
Works in a similar fashion for me.
I see. Because I think to me it was interesting that this was one of the tracks that Nakano.
That's Nakano?
That's a Hamauzu.
Oh,
that's Hamauzu did. Because Hamauzu usually doesn't have as strong of a melody. And I feel like this is something that gets stuck in my mind at least.
I mean, that's true. That's true. It's definitely catchy in a way. Maybe not necessarily catchy in the like pop music kind of way, but yeah, the combination of it being like this pretty simple pentatonic motif that also just gets repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated.
Maybe that could be the reason.
Gets it stuck in your brain. But I agree. Like it does have certain catchiness to it. I would agree with that point.
That's the thing that surprised me, that it wasn't Uematsu who did this. Because I was like, if I didn't research it, I would have just assumed it was him. Because it kind of sounded more like in the realm of like chillness in a way, I guess.
I can see that.
It sounds like something that more in the realm of Uematsu to me. But I was surprised to see it wasn't. But then again, there are so many elements of like Hamuzu and Nakano-ish in there with like all the evolving things in there. So then again, that makes total sense as well.
But yes, at this point, I guess I'll give it over to you, because especially the comparison between the two versions here has a lot.
Oh yeah, it is quite different. Because if we go back to the original, as we established, it starts off with just the synth establishing the bass, basically. And the whole remake is not completely piano, but piano focused with just a few things in there.
Oh yeah, wow.
And already starts off a completely different vibe.
Very, very much so.
We have this synth ostinato in there, but also it does sound a bit different. If you listen really closely, there is the second layer on top of it. This has a bit of a kind of vibe. This sounds to me like there was a reverse effect stacked on top of it.
Okay. Oh yeah, I see what you mean. The really high-pitched one that runs along.
Yes. Also, there is a really... Yeah, exactly. This is such a cool way to lead into the next part with just the piano, because this is basically just a piano note played backwards.
That's cool.
And this is so different.
Also, it's slower. Just the whole tempo is slower than the original one.
It is. If we go back to the original real quick, this is what the original sounds here already.
Yeah, we also have like way more percussion, and here it's still so floaty in the remake.
Yep. So I feel this sounds way more chill.
Yeah.
It is way more relaxed. The remake, first of all, is slower, but then again, adds a few things in there, like a few bars in there. Because like the intro here is a little bit longer with this. This is also not in the original. I mean, you can also see it. It's a bit of a tempo change as well, but you can see that the next part already starts here. But here we have like a bar more than in the original already was. So yeah, the remake is quite different from the original. Like you said, the original starts off with basically like establishing the bass line, the bass notes.
And also, I just realized basically it's also a part of the main melody.
Warte mal. Sind wir noch in der richtigen Tonart? Weil das klingt...
No, why are we half step down? Yes, we are. Why?
Yeah, something shifted. So, after Cubase decided to randomly shift Besaid like a half step down for some reason, I think we're clear again. So, differences between the remake and the actual original now. So, the original, as we established in the beginning, starts off with basically establishing the bass line, bass notes, how the whole piece...
and also kind of the melody in a way, because it's the start of the melody.
Yep, it starts right there. And in the remake already goes for a completely different vibe. Already starts off with piano instead of the synth. And also here, when the next part of the melody comes in, we got this reverse kind of thing on top. So there is a synth layered on top of the piano, which sounds like this kind of thing. It sounds like basically the synth on top just plays the same notes, but always with like in reverse. So basically leading into the next part, which is Also here we have this, which leads into the next part, which is basically just this note. Yeah. If we reverse this note now in editing, it's gonna sound like this.
Ah, cool, yeah. Just piano note. Back to front. Cool.
Also here, still a little bit of a choir coming in the back. Really chill, really silent.
Also, the melody is harmonized here.
Yep. Is that not in the original?
I don't think so. No, that's
No, it's not.
single.
Yeah, true. Also, the tempo is different.
Yes, it's way slower.
Also, this with little embellishments between.
Oh yeah, right.
Here we get the percussion coming in, as well as the strings.
Oh yeah, but the strings also with this high pitched synths on top of it.
There is like certain kind of reverbs that play around with pitch shifting up an octave and stuff. Only the reverb material.
Okay.
So that could be something like this. So we have a little bit of this.
Sounds almost like spacey.
It does.
Here. Also a new piano melody coming in.
Yeah. We got that as well. And here we got the break part as well. With this.
Oh yeah.
Like Rainmaker, I think it's called.
Here, yeah. Here it totally sounds like one.
Yep. Basically like a tube filled with rice or something.
Yeah, like the one I had as a kid with like small stones, and you just take the tube and you put the nails in like the spiral inside, and then just little stones run down.
Something like that, yeah. Easy to make yourself. Also, first thing to notice is we have an additional bar here.
Oh yeah, this is a little breathing room.
Yes,
Before
which
it
I
comes back
think,
in.
as I just said, the breathing room. If we go back to the original, which is completely different in tempo, so it's somewhere completely different in time already. But we have this break part, which also is way stronger still with like the bass and everything.
Also, the distorted bass.
Yeah, but that's probably just a problem with the file.
Oh, I see.
I guess. I don't think it's actually distorted.
Okay.
So ignore that.
Never heard it.
And here it starts off with the drums coming in again. And
drum roll.
if we go back to the remake, we have a little bit of this breathing room there. This is the end of the phrase. Basically, it ends with this, and the original already starts off here.
Yeah,
Here we go.
with the drum roll. And, yeah. That's cool.
And
I like
instead,
that.
we don't have like a snare drum roll here too. Nope. Go back. Come on. There we go. Because in the original, there is this snare drum upbeat kind of thing to lead into the next phrase.
Yeah.
And like with the snare, completely different vibe there.
Very much so. Yes, absolutely.
But I really like the synth or like the low piano synth thing. The dum bum bum. Together with it sounds like a drum beat. Also,
Which all like the slow synth part you talked about in the original always reminds me of frogs.
Oh yeah, that's actually really cool because that sounds naturey.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. To me, it was like basically just a bass drum.
No, that was.
True. And
This is cool.
everything on maximum velocity. We got like this breathing room here into the next phrase with the crash kind of thing into it. And here, the melody is played on the violin. Listen to the phrasing. And the vibrato there.
Yeah.
It's so tasteful.
I wonder if it's a violin or one of those traditional Japanese ones. I can't say for sure.
This sounds like a violin to me.
I think so. Yes.
It sounds like a really, maybe like a Japanese person playing the violin in that kind of style, because the vibrato definitely doesn't sound European, right?
Is it that note for me?
Yeah.
But I can't say for sure. That, as you said, it might just really be a normal
That one,
violin. Yeah.
Yep. It has this like wailing kind of quality that a lot of these instruments have.
Yeah, and it strongly reminds me of one of the traditional Japanese ones, but quite possible that it's just a normal violin and just played with that in mind.
I think so, because to me, from when it comes to the sound perspective, because the other instruments, they sound like more nasally usually, and this one sounds quite full body.
Yeah.
I mean, the body sounds like a violin, but this is the thing I'm listening for. But it sounds like somebody who grew up with this kind of style of playing, or like used to that kind of way of vibrato.
Yeah, it has a very traditional sound.
But yeah, it's so beautifully played. I really, really like this. And then we got another one of these Rainmaker breaks.
That's also cool. What's that? Oh, C sharp.
And we got another bar in, and then I only just realized this. There's like a glockenspiel kind of thing.
Yeah, right.
I never heard that. Only just because Cubase did some fuckery there. I only just found this.
These synths I find so interesting. Some of B and B flat.
And here we have this pedaling in the right hand. In the piano, which I think is a really cool effect.
Sure.
Because it gives way more movement to the whole thing.
Also now, I think that happens in the original as well. I just remember. No. Sorry, another thing. Where that now the bass line shifts.
Oh yeah.
I think that's in the original as well.
Here? Yep. Yeah. All right, there. Let's go back a bit to the beginning of the phrase.
The G. Now we go to the F sharp. Yeah, back to the G. And I think now we go up to the A. Nope. To the B. And now to the A.
No.
And back to the G. Which is, that's something I always like, and I also like to do myself way too much in pieces I write, where I like take an established melody, which at the beginning of this piece is played always over the G, like the pentatonic melody we have. Is always in the context to this G, and then somewhere later in the piece you just take the same melody and now you basically give it a new context, you recontextualize it by just moving the bass notes.
Yeah.
And now suddenly it gets more of a harmonic shift, more of a harmonic structure, especially in that case when you have this like G and then to the fifth, which is again, which we talked about last time, basically that chord that leads back to here. So yeah, I just like that.
That's cool. Here we got like this pedaling movement coming in. I'm in the wrong track. That's why it's not there. In the piano. I really like that.
Oh yeah.
Because it gets the movement.
Yeah.
And also something that sounds like a Rainmaker, but a lot more synthy shimmery. Fairy dust.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something like that.
That's a good association.
And also we have a completely different part in there again, which I think, especially if you're used to the original, where there is this part, it just goes back straight to the beginning. if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think it loops. Right
So the original,
here.
and I think the snare roll or something.
No, just a side.
Yeah.
Side stick with this.
And back to the beginning.
Yeah.
But here we get another of these added bars for more breathing room, kind of like we had before, but more interesting. Since it's not just a break, it also has a lead into the next part. It was such a good idea to put this in because this gives us such a completely different vibe, and it's not back to it from music. Okay, this is kind of chill. All right, back to the other thing. This is like, okay, let's let the whole thing breathe again. Let's let it move a bit more again. So I really like that they put this in.
Great.
Chord movement. It's basically a call and answer thing as well. Because first we got it in the right hand. And then. So yeah. These two versions feel so completely different in everything they have.
Absolutely.
Which one do you prefer?
Hard to say. I guess in total, I would say I like the remake more. Would be my guess here, because I like the added elements. I think it's just, for most of it just adds more texture and interesting things. It also gets like the tonal soundscape is more interesting. In a way, it's just richer.
Yeah,
I would say. I can't say I'm 100% on board necessarily with the spacey sounding Stardust things sometimes.
Yeah.
Just because of what it accompanies in the game.
True.
Because it isn't necessarily something that I associate with this tropical feeling.
Especially there's nothing futuristic in Besaid. Like
Exactly.
nothing.
Yeah.
It can't get more basic and naturey, like village kind of.
Yeah, I mean, they
thing.
basically live in huts.
Yeah, they do.
Just have
So
the
that's-
one stone temple.
that's
So
true.
that's maybe, but also, I don't think it registers as much while you play the game.
Oh yeah.
It's like you don't sit there and go, wait, this sounds like a spaceship. Nah, not really.
You don't hear it at all. Anyway, I only just realized it as well. That is as apparent, like very dusty sounding as it is there.
So I think that's basically, it's just another texture, another sound thing that's in the mix. So it's nothing jarring.
Yep, not at
So
all.
I guess it fully works within the context of the game.
Ooh, that part.
But yeah, all those, the additions are beautiful.
Yep.
They do.
I really
like
do
those.
prefer the remake. I mean, yeah, the fairy dust thing, all right, fair enough. But with everything they did, I mean, also the whole loop is basically longer now. That they added this pedaling movement as well.
Yeah,
And I feel like it captures the really wide, beautiful landscapes of Besaid way better.
And
I miss the drums. Oh, in my head.
Yeah, although what I kind of like that they are, for what the remake, for me at least, tries to do, it works very well that they're not here, because for me it goes way more for this fairy tale, almost magical paradise feeling.
Yeah.
Which somehow fits for me because, as we said before we started talking about it, basically that this is, I guess, the most pure place you're gonna be in the game.
Yeah.
Like everything else, there are other
Definitely.
very beautiful places, but they're in some way destroyed or more dangerous, something like that. And here it's just like, this is just a tropical island with not a lot of people living on it, which seem pretty content with being here.
Oh yeah.
And so it's just, it's this. It also has like this, the usual home base feeling of where most RPGs would start. A lot of them, I mean, it's just, that's a very classical thing. I think especially a lot of the Final Fantasy games do, where it's like, okay, we see the inciting incident, something dramatic happening, and then we go to some small village in some beautiful area, and that's where the whole adventure starts.
Yeah.
Starts to develop from there. Just basically spiral out of control at some point in a way.
Yeah.
But Yeah, so for that feeling, I get and I can see why they went for the more magical, slower, more sounds and all that.
Yeah.
Professional descriptions.
You can't professionally describe something like this.
That's true.
You actually call these like whooshes and splashes or whatever.
Right. But yeah, so yeah. I guess all in all, I also prefer the remake. But original has its own feeling and stuff that I like.
I still miss the drums.
A little bit.
Because this is more of like a jammy kind of vibe again.
Yeah.
And this is way more fun.
That's
you know?
true. Yeah.
This feels like way more fun, which also fits Besaid really well. But the other thing is just so beautiful. Especially like with the violin coming in and the way the violin phrasing goes with like even the maybe a bit Japanese-ish kind of vibrato or whatever, says the guitar player.
I mean, yeah, that's basically how I would describe it. I'm not very well versed in what the special things are that make traditional Japanese music.
Traditional Japanese music. Yeah.
But
you can also hear it in singers. The vibrato is way wider when it comes to like...
And it's just different. I think right now I'm lacking the words to describe what the differences are, but it just has its own feeling in a way, because you also have like, you can have big vibratos in Western music, especially opera and stuff like that. The opera sopranos have something really good.
Is it as extreme as well?
Can happen.
Okay.
Not necessarily.
Which I think this is something that also comes in Japanese like pop and rock music quite a bit. This like...
I mean, yeah.
From someone who can't really sing.
And yeah, it's definitely it's stronger, I would say. And
wider as well. I feel like wider and a bit more extreme. But yeah, I really like that. Also, I think that the structure is quite different. All the structure elements also that they added. Just the little bar, the little breathe things. I really like that.
Yeah.
This adds so much to it. And in the original, the bell sound is so weird. That kind of distracts me. Nope.
No, it's here.
Come on. I'm at the frog keyboard. That's why nothing works. Ding.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. Also, this is the thing that kind of works with, because Besaid is like a bit of a churchy place, I guess.
I mean, that's okay. I can see that association, because it's the first time you basically come to a temple of Yevon.
Yep.
And all that. Yeah, and I never had the association with church bells, but it makes sense.
I think if this is what they went for, this would make quite a bit of sense. So I really like that. And also, we have like a really strong bass in the original, which is quite interesting. And yeah, since it's Hamauzu, there's also quite a bit of ostinato going on. As we discussed before, that's a typical thing again of ostinato.
Ostinato. And ostinato is typical for ostinatos.
Ostinato is typical for Hamauzu.
We go full circle. Sorry, I can't talk today.
Me neither. Anyways, anything else I have in my notes? Right, we got these lush string pads in the back again.
Yeah, as usual for the remade ones, they sound softer and usually more in the background.
This is the original.
Damn it, yes, but like,
I think
they're pretty soft here as well.
That's what I mean. And where is it? Let's go. Okay, they're way softer actually, but with a little bit more sprinkle.
Yeah, but in the original, like within the original versions of the songs, those are definitely one of the like softest string pads.
Oh yeah.
They in other songs they're way more upfront.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, guess that's it.
Yeah, pretty much. I have a lot more to say.
That was quite a lot anyways. That's probably the most dense track we discussed. So basically, Besaid's theme followed us throughout the island, and now after we met the Crusaders, the Cruise what?
Exactly.
Yes, the really well-timed joke. We get into Besaid Village with the next theme starting. What happens story-wise in Besaid? We learn the thing that you talked about before. We learn about the prayer of Yevon. So which was the thing where they do this kind of thing and bow down, which is something that we already know. We mean Tidus. Because this in Xanarkand meant the victory sign of Blitzball. So that's another thing that connects Spira and Xanarkand together.
Yes, apparently. Yeah. And it also plays into, I think you mentioned it in like first or second episode. It also underlines this comparison they did in State of the Arc.
Oh yeah.
The sports and religion.
Oh yes.
That basically in Xanarkand it was like a sports, at least to be interpreted as a sports sign.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess. And now here it's very much steeped in this religious context.
Yeah.
Like this holy thing, Yevon, the highest power that exists in the universe.
It's such an interesting comparison to make. I would have never gotten to that conclusion, but it's actually, even in late game stuff, this is enforced even more. Yeah.
Oh.
So it makes total sense, but I would have never figured. Like, never. So props to them. This is really next level. Also, then we get to talk to Luzu and Gata, the two Crusaders we just met before, and we get an explanation about the Crusaders, what the Crusaders are, what the Crusaders do, which is something that I think the voice actor did really nicely there, because he recites it like a primary school dude would recite something.
Yes.
It doesn't know why.
Yes.
So, we are the Crusaders and we fought Sin for 800 years, and he's like, what, 800 years and still haven't beat it? Like, we steered Sin away from town many times.
Yes.
And he's like, yeah, but whose job is it to defeat Sin? It's like, they don't even try to answer the Sin's not so really that answer. Like, go to the temple and try and remember through Yevon is basically what they answer.
Yeah.
So they don't even tell him. It's just like, you know what? Temple of Yevon, go to the temple, pray at the temple, try to have Yevon help you remember everything. So yeah, we feel kind of stupid. So yeah, on to the thing. I don't really have too much to say about this. I just think it's a really beautiful.
Necessarily. I just wonder, and I should have looked this up before, but is this the first time we basically hear the Suteki Dane theme?
Don't spoil it.
Basically?
I think so, yeah.
I think, yeah.
Because this is one of the leitmotifs again.
Like basically if you, at least from my perspective, it's the leitmotif in the game. It's like,
It basically is, yeah.
I feel like the one that comes up the most often and in the most pivotal moments.
This one and the first one we heard, the Xanarkand motif.
Yeah.
I think these two are the two strongest ones. And here we already starts off with this really chill guitar vibe. The whole song is a guitar song.
Yeah.
So it's just two guitars playing together. And after this part, the leitmotif starts. So we have this little break.
Yeah.
Which is one
So
of the
basically,
strongest
we
motifs.
don't know it yet, but we're gonna revisit this melody a lot. in this
Oh
game.
yeah, oh yeah. And it's hidden pretty well sometimes. So there's just a little bit of a difference between the original and the remake. It seems like the remake was played by real players. I mean, there already, the right player plays the high one,
Yeah.
the high melody.
Yeah, it's arranged a little bit differently.
It is. But it's quite
melody.
similar.
But yeah, all in all, the same.
I really like this walk into the next phrase after the break.
Yeah, the counting in.
Because it's like an offbeat.
Yeah,
I really like it. Wait. Let's go.
You're just
That
on the
one.
offbeat. Yeah,
This is such a cool walk in into
That's
the
a cool
phrase.
pickup, yeah.
I really like that pickup. That's what I was looking for. We got the theme there, of course, as well. So yeah, I feel like this is played by real players. It
Pretty
sounds like
sure.
something that real players would do.
Yeah.
And we have.
Which is like even the. Yeah,
Which is the main part of this leitmotif, basically.
Yeah.
The strongest one. And And then a little chord change right there. With this walk-in together with both guitars, which is really cool. This kind of break. Now the chord comes in basically again. Here again. And we're...
That's what is kind of interesting we're listening to. Is that a remake we're listening to right now? Yes,
yeah.
Right? Where this part is like, feels way more structured. In the original, they have this weird...
That's later. That's later.
That's later? Oh, damn it.
I want to talk about this
here.
though. No, that's not here yet. In the original. Oh, I forgot about that. That's really cool in the original.
Mm-hmm. You're right. Same thing.
Also, we have this little pickup here again.
It loops in itself before it loops as a whole.
But the thing you were talking about is at the very end. Yep, there it is. This is such a weird thing. We have it in there. Let's listen to the original first. I think it should be here. Yep, this is basically before the loop starts.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool. Then we have this.
I like it. Especially, I love the last single note. Letting it ring. That's cool.
And I actually like this part here. I think this is like really cool and jammy, and
I mean, yeah,
I like it.
Definitely
It's completely
works.
weird, and it's like I don't know why it's there, but it's cool.
It's a little out of left field, but
yeah,
I guess it also works just to like bookend the part where this basically was the whole song, and now we're starting from the beginning.
Yeah, but which is actually something I don't think you really should hear.
I mean,
it's fine, but
this
is something that gets you out of this looped feeling.
Yeah,
a little bit. Which I'm not sure if it's like a good thing or a bad thing. It's just something that you can clearly hear that something's changed here. I mean, which in a lot of other parts you also can hear, but this is a clear-cut transition thingy back to the beginning.
It's so different.
But what I wanted to say is, I think in the original it sounds kind of cool, like two guitar players jamming together. It doesn't sound too weird, but it's like a completely weird transition of something. Yeah, okay, let's play something completely different and back to the beginning. I feel like this is another thing why I feel this is real players in the remake, because I feel like they tried to like notate it out and write out what they are supposed to play. And they're exactly basically playing what they were told to play, which of course in the original is also the case because I'm pretty sure it's programmed. So you can't tell a programmed thing to do improvisation basically. But if we listen to this part in the remake, this sounds so strictly... I don't like that at all. Not at all. This sounds,
but I
this
get
sounds so
what you mean.
forced. This doesn't sound like anything somebody in a jam would play at all.
No, this sounds very like this sounds checked out.
Yeah, totally does.
This is synchronized or like.
I really don't like that. Ding, 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 ding. This is like, I don't know. It just breaks the chill vibe. It's just like, woo! All right.
More so than the original one. I agree.
The original doesn't do that for me at all. Of course, you hear that something different there, but it doesn't break the immersion for me. It's like a little bit of It just feels like two guitar players chilling in a village playing. The other thing, nah.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I like the remake, but this part, no. I really don't like this part. But yeah, that's all I got for this.
Despite it being like a nice guitar arrangement, there's not a lot more happening here, but it fits the vibe of the village very well.
It does.
I think it's just like, it's just as it sounds, chill. It's kind of cute in a way.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
The Crusaders are sworn to battle sin. We have chapters throughout Spira, accepting all who wish to join our struggle. The hero Mihen formed the Crusaders 800 years ago as the Crimson Blades.
Exactly.
Later, our ranks grew
That's
and
what
we
I
called ourselves the Crusaders. We've been fighting sin
I think this is kind of cool.
since.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
You've been fighting 800 years and you still haven't beat it?
This is such a good line.
Well, we've steered Sin away from towns many times. And that's all we can do. Nobody's ever been able to defeat it.
So, then whose job is it to defeat Sin?
This conversation is one of the first times, at least, maybe the first time that, like, the futility of the whole task is brought up. Where this is like, no, this just keeps happening. We're just trying to do our best, but there's, like, no real end to this. I mean, Walker somewhat brings it up before when he talks about, like, we're repenting for our sins and all that, but I think this is the first time you get the clearer picture of, okay, so this is not about defeating this thing, this sin. It's just about basically getting it to be away for some time, and then it's gonna come back. One of the first glimpses we get of this, like, and especially that there's a whole organization, like, as the Crusaders around, just defending. Basically, they're only defending towns and cities from Sim, but it's not really about trying to defeat it. It's just about, just steer it away, just try to save as many people as we can, because we can't really do anything anyway. It's just save as many lives as possible. Yeah. That's all we can do. Which, of course, has to sound weird for someone, especially like Tidus, since we already established shortly before that he's the, like, play to win kind of guy. So, like, the concept of, no, we're not trying to, like, defeat it, we're just trying to steer it away, and we've done that for 800 years. And it's like, what? Yeah, what the hell?
Exactly.
This doesn't compute.
Yeah, not at all. Especially if we could see before, he's like, yeah, we're gonna make it. You didn't win a game for like 10 years. Well, I'm gonna make you win. No. You're gonna win the next tournament, definitely.
So yeah, this is like the same thing on, like, a way bigger scale.
Oh yeah. It just doesn't get that at all. True. All right, so then we move on into the temple. And here in the temple, we have another strong leitmotiv.
Oh yes, right, exactly. That's the first time that one comes up.
This is the Hymn of the Faith, or Hum of the Faith, as it's called in the soundtrack for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. It's also, I don't think it's in, I think it's only that called that in the original version of the soundtrack. I think in re-releases later on, it's called Hymn of the Faith.
Okay.
But yeah, I wasn't really able to find out if this is just like some kind of mistranslation or something that they did on purpose to call it Hum of the Faith. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't, because Tidus later hums it, so I thought this was the connection, but this has nothing to do with this part, so this was just a random connection I made. But yeah, we walk into this temple, and we have this leitmotif coming up, where there's quite a bit of stuff to talk about. Oh, one thing that I forgot to talk about, the Japanese name for Spira Unplugged, the theme we just heard before. If you translate it, it's like the original is called Spira no Joke, which translates to Spira and Scenery. So it's basically...
okay.
It's got less of a jammy name, more of like the beautiful landscape underscoring kind of vibe when it comes to the name. And the English version called Spira Unplugged has like this totally jammy vibe.
Yeah, also, like, I find it interesting that, like, the original title focuses on what the song tries to describe, whereas Unplugged basically just describes, okay, yeah, these are acoustic guitars. Yep. Okay. It's a weird choice, I guess. So, like, basically, I like Spira and Scenery as a title better. Because like,
serves different purposes
since, like, there is no other theme that's called Spira. So Spira Unplugged doesn't make the most sense for me. Yeah. Because it's not like there's an electrified version of this anywhere. Something like that.
Fair point.
It's just like, yeah, but it's like, it's not important. But I don't know.
That's still an interesting choice. So, I mean, I don't really have anything to say here. I only have story bits to say here. And anything that I know you're going to talk about anyways. So, stage is yours.
So, yes. There's some interesting things about that piece. I mean, from like a musical theory part, this is a Dorian piece. Like in Dorian, these are they're in musical theory, there exists something like the modes. The modes are basically, the simplest way I can think of to describe them is if you take the C major scale, like your standard C major, if you keep all the notes that you use the same, but then you start not on the C, but on the D, that would be Dorian, the second mode. There's also the Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian, and then again to just your normal major.
Yeah.
Union, that would be. So, yes. Why I bring this up is because the first thing most people, I think, will kind of associate with how the piece sounds, at least in our hemisphere, in the Western hemisphere, is this very, like, I guess a cloister would be one of the first things that comes to people, like this monks singing together.
Oh, yeah.
That's like the first thing that comes to mind as a picture, I think. So this makes sense because it definitely is very reminiscent of, basically here we would say it's like music before 1600, where most of it was clerical, or at least this part of music was very clerically induced, and worked under very different rules than our polyphonic music does today. Whereas like you often have these kinds of sounds, like, which are like these parallel fifths, which is something the classical music then tried to fully abandon. Just became like something as a you should absolutely not do that. But it was a very common thing there. And like this piece the Hymn of Faith does not fully adhere to those kind of rules. Like it's not a Gregorian choral, but it sounds reminiscent, I would say.
It does, definitely.
So it makes sense that they would. I'm not sure, like if in English they're called the same. In German, we call them modes. Also the Kirchentonarten, which would be like the tonalities of the church, if you translate it, thank you, in a way. So it makes sense that it also has this kind of clerical connection again, but yeah, not necessarily go too deep into that because it becomes very theoretical at some point. But yes, the whole piece, it's a Uematsu piece. It was arranged by Hamauzu. And the lyrics are written by Nojima, who was a scenario writer for the game. I think I brought him up in an early episode as well, because he wrote some of the lyrics for some of the pieces in the soundtrack. Also for this one. And this one is the most interesting one.
Oh, yeah.
Because basically the lyrics you hear within the game are nonsensical. Like these are just quote-unquote random syllables strung together. You can't translate them. It's not Japanese. It's not anything. But what you can do is, and correct me on details if I get something wrong here. I think you know this better.
Let's see.
Like a very older, not necessarily used today way of writing and reading Japanese was like the right to left thing. I think is still a thing. But you also read it from top to bottom.
Yep, I think
started
this
on the
is
right
still...
and went down, and then you go here, and then you go down, and then you move on like that. Like
I don't know how common it is, but it's still used, so it's definitely still there.
So it's still around. But that's how, basically, if you take the lyrics and write them in this traditional way, basically they are the original lyrics which have meaning are written in this traditional way. But then I think they're just, if I can remember correctly, just read left to right.
Yeah.
So like I should have written down what they sing in the game actually, but if you write it down in the correct way, it becomes there. I found two sources which slightly differ, but they use the same words. It says, Inorigo yume mio ebonju inore yo sakai tamae hachinaku. I'm gonna butcher every part of this pronunciation, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
I really can't speak Japanese. But what it translates to is faith, dream, Yuyevan, pray, please grant prosperity without end. Or in another version I found, pray Yuyevan, dream faith, prosper boundlessly. I guess that they also have the original, I don't know, couldn't find out which one is like the correct one, since I simply can't read Japanese signs at all. But it's also interesting because this way of how this basically new language is constructed here was something that Nojima originally wanted to put in the rest of the game as well, with language of the Al-Bhed. Like he read a lot about how languages works while developing the game, and you had way more complex plans with how the language of the Albay would work, with the similar system of like, okay, writing Japanese, but then reading it differently and stringing the syllables together like this. But in the end, because it was already decided that the gameplay mechanic of you finding the lexicas and all that, and by that finding out how the language works, it was just, as far as I got, it became too complicated. And it just went back to, okay, no, we're just going to switch the single ones, and one by one you get the whole alphabet, and then you can read the words, and that's it. But it would have been very interesting. Because there could have been infused with a lot more meaning. I guess if you have like this, okay, if I arrange them correctly, then I get a right sentence. But I get how it would have been quite complicated to like make it a gameplay mechanic. Finding all that out. So just having the ciphers being like, okay, no, this works way easier. But yes, I really like that fact about that song, and it would have been something that I would have been interested to see in the game. Didn't come to fruition, but that's something that happens a lot in game development as far as I got it. Ideas that are like sound very cool, but then in the end are like scrapped because it's like, we don't have the time and resources to put that in. That would like take 2 months of our development cycle, which we really need for other things. As much as this like could be a cool idea. I also find interesting that I just have it here. Lyrics as heard don't form Japanese sentences or words, but as Japanese were traditionally written vertically and arranged right to left, you can read the lyrics in a way, when written down, which reveals the lyrics would also match the melody. Like it's like you can Inorigo yume miyo ebon yu Inoreyo sakatamae hatenaku. That's the last word. So you can still sing the originals, or like the correct, quote unquote, the Japanese lyrics over the song. It works both ways, which I find cool.
I mean, which makes total sense, since basically all of the syllables are like the same length anyways. Just have to know how to and lengthen them in the right way. That's cool. Only other thing I still have written down is that there's basically 15 different versions of this song in the game. 15?
Like, it's not always a different song. It's just sung by different people, or starting on another note, something like that. But
then this is definitely one of the leitmotiv contenders that comes up the most. I didn't even know it comes up that often.
Yes, but also it's like, it's more self-contained. There are not that many variations of it. It's just like, it's basically the same thing coming up in a slightly different sounding version.
True.
It's like, there's not like, it's not re-harmonized or anything like that often. There are re-harmonized versions. We're going to come to that in a bit.
Yes.
But by far not as many as like the melody we had before in the Spira Unplugged, which is going to come up in quite different versions throughout the game. It sound quite differently. If anyone's interested, the main voice is performed by the boy soprano Hideharu. If anyone wants to look him up. No, I just found it interesting. Hideharu Yao plus a choir. That's his name. I just found it interesting because I wasn't sure when I listened to it whether it's a female voice or a boy's voice. Like, after knowing it, it feels quite clear that it's a boy. It has this more boyish sound than to a woman singing it. But anything you have to add here?
Nah. You said everything. I have nothing. I only have story pieces here. So when it comes to what happens in the temple, first of all, Tidus realizes how different Spira is from where he comes from when he's standing in the temple. We get explanations about a Lord Braska being a high summoner, and everybody is really confused and upset again that we don't know anything. Asking, what's a high summoner? You heathen!
Blasphemy.
And then again, sin-toxing excuse again. So, we also get a first explanation of what summoners are, and what their Aeons are. So they are basically the blessing of Yevon that are granted to us by the means of praying. We get to know more about this anyways, but this is just a first quick explanation. And then we go back to the village, taking a nap, and we hear Walker talking to a priest. And while we hear him talking, we basically fall asleep and have a flashback kind of thing with the next theme coming up.
Yes.
Which is called Phantoms. And it's another piece by Yuna Nakano. So in the flashback itself, we see Tidus and hear about Tidus' father being lost and Tidus not caring at all if he dies or not, and that he hates his father. So a bit more development from in the beginning, where we already could see kind of a little bit of like a detest against his father in a few things he said in the very beginning of the game. And now with this flashback, we can clearly hear that he actually says he hates his father.
Yes.
So there is really a big like disparity between the two.
Yeah. Big divide.
First of all, let's go with the original again first, I guess.
Sure. But in general, I don't have too much to say.
All right, then I'm just gonna go rambling. I feel like this does have a cool and dreamy vibe.
Yes, definitely.
Let's turn this down again. But then again, it feels more like a mystic forest or something than a flashback to me.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't have the vibe of flashback to me. Like, not at all. But when it comes to like sound design, since this is a Nakano one again, we have some of his typical things again. We go back to the beginning real quick. We have this on the left side and on the right side again, which I still love. This is so cool. Especially like left side, right side.
Yeah.
Probably opposite on the camera, but yeah. We also have like the left and right thing with the percussion as well.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah.
Like the triangle thing or glockenspiel or whatever it is. And some cool left and right elements just in general, which I think give it a cool movement. The B part opened up with another melody, but another melody I would call not melody focused. Because we have like two melodies going there, which is kind of dreamy and kind of fun and cool and all. But I don't think I'd catch you like whistling this in the street somewhere.
Unlikely.
And we have like bigger percussion with a lot more reverb, which I really like. We go back to the part again. Also, we have like on the right side something.
Again, yeah, as I said, like it feels less like a melody and more like a motif that's basically shifted up and down.
Yeah.
Like the same thing. Just okay, now it starts here, now it starts here, now we're back.
But I feel like this seems way less of a melody than the one in Besaid. Besaid felt really like a melody to me.
Yeah,
so it didn't really do as much, but yeah. Also, we have like bigger chords in the background. And I have a note with another one. Oh yeah, there it is again. We have one note in the background again. Yep.
Yeah.
It goes down a little.
Back up.
So it's not exactly one note that stays up there, but
for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And if we go to the remake now, it already starts off quite a lot cleaner and clearer.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds so Christmas-ish.
This
This is another one where I feel
Even
like
more.
this should be like a mystical forest or something.
A very different soundscape.
Oh yeah. I have a completely different part of the game in mind with this. Think of Macalania Forest.
Yes, yes.
This would fit so well with Macalania Forest.
Although I do like the Macalania.
I like it too, but it's used
But
it's used in different places as well.
yeah.
Nothing against the Macalania one, but this could be like a really cool mystical forest kind of feel.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, you can see that.
Way more than a flashback. But I also feel like the remake does the flashback vibe a bit better justice.
Yeah.
Also, like the transitions sound way smoother in the remake, I feel. With another one of these.
Yeah.
Still there.
There it is.
Also the harp, which has weird dissonant chords in between sometimes again.
Yeah.
Also like the percussion quite a lot.
There's so much. Do you call it high end?
Yeah, I'd call it glitter.
Yeah.
It's like this. It's again one of these sparkly. I mean, it is high end, but it's like one of these sparkly ear candy kind of things. And if we go to the transition in the original, we have quite a bit of
This almost sounds like LoFi comparison.
especially with all the high end stuff in the other.
Yeah.
Transition also works, but I feel like it's quite a bit smoother in the remake. All right, there's a different part.
Oh yeah.
That's not in the original, is it?
I don't think so.
Oh, it seems like it is. It is.
Oh, it's there. Okay.
In the original again, for quite a long while. The left side, and this one, again, these are so cool.
I find it so funny, like, I don't want to say it's like that this is a bad track in any way. That's not what it's just definitely one of the least memorable ones for me, or one that just, it definitely does what it wants to do, works very well within that, but that one, like, even when I listen through the soundtrack again after playing the game 3 times, I think by now, something like that.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, yeah, I guess that's somewhere in there.
I remembered it was
like,
in there, but I had no idea where.
Yeah, I had no association with it. It's just like this, oh yeah, I'm sure I heard that somewhere.
Yeah, that is true.
With everything else, I had like at least some picture in mind. It was, oh yeah, that was that one, that was that one, that was that one, something like that. And it was like, yeah, that's shiny.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same with me. But now that I've researched Nakano style quite a bit more, I really like this track. I didn't really care too much about it before. But now after like all these and stuff, I developed like an ear to hear what is cool about this track, which I didn't have before. And again, this sounds so different in the remake. Again, not really flashbacky.
No.
But I really like how they cleaned the whole thing up again. Everything sounds way cleaner and way more orderly there.
Yeah, way more space in a way.
Yeah. And there we can hear a little bit of this movement again.
Very quiet in the background.
And apparently there is something cool and glittery here. Let's see what I found there. Also, these changes are kind of cool there. So let's see what glitters. Oh yeah.
Ah yeah, I see what you mean.
Especially like the... This is so weird, but it's kind of fun. And one thing we're going to talk about later, what just came to mind. If I listen to this, this sounds like the Fireflies to me.
I can see that. Yeah.
So we are going to talk about Fireflies a bit more later, but they're basically, they look like little fireflies, basically.
Yeah, describe it as such.
And they're like all over Spira. They're also basically, whenever we've seen them before when killing enemies.
True.
Whenever you kill enemies, there's these sparkly thingies coming out of the enemies. And those are fireflies. More on them in quite a bit. But yeah, this sounds, but it doesn't make any sense there. Oh, well, it does make sense. It does make story sense. Way later. Latest game story sense that fireflies could be connected with Tidus' flashbacks and stuff.
Yes, true.
But I mean, also just conjecture. But anyways, I talked way too much about the track. I didn't think I had anything to talk about. So yeah, after the flashback, we go back into the temple. We find Waka there, that we just heard talking to the priest before. And we hear about an apprentice summoner not having returned for a while. So, for a while meaning for a day even. So, quite a long while. And the summoner is stuck in there. And apparently, it can be dangerous in there. Oh? I mean, maybe like one of these spheres can fall on your foot and that might hurt a little.
I'm not sure. So, and I never got it fully. If like, I mean, it's hard to talk about it without spoiling, but like, let's phrase it like that. What the summoner, like the main purpose of the summoner being in there, if there's something dangerous about that, about obtaining what they want to obtain,
Yeah.
If there is some danger in that process.
Yeah, because there's like a chamber that we can't get into, the Chamber of Faith.
So I always figured that this kind of transformation or transaction that happens in there might have something dangerous about it.
Yeah, that's what I thought
but
too.
As far as I remember, the game stays quite vague about what exactly
it does
happens here. It's just like, kind of goes in, comes out. Okay, it's done. What's done? I don't know, some spiritual act.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically the summoner, when it goes in there, has to pray to the faith and try to obtain their blessing. So that's basically it, so that they can go on the journey that we are going to talk about more in quite a bit. But it's basically just praying in there. So I still don't get.
But I mean, they do show it as being quite taxing on the summoner. Like usually when they come out, it's like they're exhausted. Like there has a lot been happening. So
maybe
there is like that's at least an implication, I guess, to that this could exhaust a summoner to like a dangerous level.
Like only here because it's like the first time because I think no other temple actually exhausts the summoner.
I mean, true.
And also, we meet
yeah.
a few other summoners along the way, and they never seem exhausted.
Yeah.
Do they? I mean, that's the thing. I just don't get what's dangerous about them. Maybe even, I mean, the summoner we are going to meet is like an apprentice summoner, and this is the first time praying to the faith. So, of course, that kind of makes sense that it's exhausting and everything, but...
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Maybe it's also just the time frame that she's been in there. That's just like, okay, it's just too long, so apparently something must have gone wrong. It's like not necessarily that the process as usually is dangerous. It's just like, now there might have been something dangerous because, this should not take that long.
I have a theory on why it took so long. Just keep in mind that this summoner, like, it's basically the only time we hear about a summoner that it takes long to have this, to obtain the faith. I do have a theory on that, but that would spoil quite a bit.
Okay. I'll keep it in mind.
But yeah, I'll come back to this later maybe. But yeah. So apparently it can be dangerous in there, and Tidus with his stormy attitude, like, well, let's go help her. No, it's forbidden. You can't go in there. So apparently only the summoners and their guardians are supposed to be in there. And Tidus is like, but we gotta help. We gotta help the summoner. Let's go in. Let's go in. And he's like, no, it's forbidden. And he's just like I care, and runs in. I love this. I really like, because this is such a genuine reaction to me.
Yes.
This feels so much like a Tidus character trait. I really love this scene. I've heard other people talk about this scene and like, I don't know why I did that there. Like, no, this fits perfectly with like this stormy and I'm gonna save everybody and stuff, that kind of character. It fits so perfectly with his character.
Yeah, especially not being the person that would be like, because, I mean, apparently he has learned right now that, okay, this is some sacred and very holy place and all that. But like the respect that he has for that part of it gets immediately overwritten by okay, apparently someone is dangerous. Just, okay, go in. I mean, what are you talking about?
But then again, he just doesn't understand all these things around. Of course, so he doesn't have a connection to the whole holy thing.
Of course, yeah. Like,
so for him, it's like, yeah, but I don't care about your your teachings and everything, because there's somebody in there that's in danger. Let's go save them. I don't care about what happens there. I have no connection.
Yeah, but what I meant more is like, I can see maybe someone like myself, or just in general other people that would in that situation have like the other priority of like being, okay, I don't know anything about this faith. I don't know how sacrilegious or whatever it is that I'm about to do. So maybe just not, because they maybe know better. Like someone else would have gone in there if there was like that imminent of a danger. Yeah. So I'm just gonna stay out, since everyone keeps telling me that I can't go in there. Yeah. Because I don't want to upset the whole village.
Which he basically does with this. But I really like his reaction with not just with the storming, but like, I care. And then again, right after that, he's like, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. But then I'm like, all right, I'm in there now anyways. So
he is very impulsive in a lot of moments.
I mean, he's 17 after all.
True.
So that works. I really like that. All right, and in there, we got the next theme. Another one that Umatsu did, which is called The Trials, the Cloister of Trials. So, yeah, I don't have too much to say here. It works. It's kind of mysterious.
Yeah.
I have one thing to say there.
And a little later. we have this D minor, B flat major. It switches between these chords. Again,
There is one thing that I want to note here.
Right, yeah.
This kind of rambling, it sounds like, to me, this sounds like monks chanting or something in there. So this is the one thing I really like about it.
Yeah, true. It took me a while to like even fully realize that it's there.
I always kind of realized it was there, but never consciously got it. I really like that. That sounds like, I don't know, Buddhist monks or something?
Something like that.
Yeah. Like in deep meditation or something.
Yeah.
So I really like that part of this. Also, one thing to notice that the original and the remake are exactly the same.
Okay.
So there's no difference at all.
I see. Yeah, other than that, I mean, you can, again, from my perspective, clearly hear again that this isn't Uematsu. Right.
It is.
Yes.
I can clearly hear it.
I would have been very surprised if it wasn't, but again, because this is like the melody focus is very apparent again.
Really?
I mean, this is a strong melody for me.
This has way less of a melody than Besaid to me.
Really?
I mean, okay, it... I don't know. Yeah, it might be stuck in my head more than Besaid, but...
Also, it's just... And again, here comes then the...
True.
That whole part. It's more of a melody, clearly, than the motif. There's longer development. It has a starting and end point.
Yeah, I can see that.
And all that. So, like, to me, it's... Yeah, more of that, more... None that, but like, of course, not like the catchiest one Uematsu has written.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely not the case, but I don't think it has to be here because that's like what happens in the background while you go through the temple, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is during all these weird trials.
Yeah.
This is played during every temple trial we have, and this is basically like underscoring, solving mysteries, solving like problems.
Yeah, you have this little...
Yeah,
not
grateful.
ridicules. That's...
Yeah, I'm missing this exact word again as well.
Go on.
Puzzles?
Yeah, puzzles.
I
guess. Yeah, these puzzles. Damn
yeah. Language barrier. This one's still blurry. But yeah, I mean, that's all I gotta say there. It's kind of legendary, but
yeah, you hear
not
it a lot. Especially if you, in later dungeons, if you don't use a walkthrough and want to do everything you can do in there, this can take a long time.
Yes.
Just to figure out what you do and then even doing it. It can still be a slog.
Yeah. The last two.
Yeah, it's a little bit ridiculous. From like a personal perspective.
Yeah, same. Especially like the last temple that you actually go to, there is a low rumble throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And when I played this on the Steam version with like good monitors, good speakers, I could actually hear it like droning all the time, or like with headphones, like stop. Because it's like the same. It's like let's not go there now. But yeah, there's a low droning noise all the time, and it's so annoying.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
But other than that, not too many notes for my part on that piece. It works. Does what it wants to do.
Yeah.
If there's no low drone, it doesn't get too annoying.
That's good.
For the amount of times you hear it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Right. It works as a good loop. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
It has a melody, but it fades very much in the background after like second loop. It's there. It works. Doesn't get on your nerves.
That's true.
So I guess
it's really good for like an atmospheric background thing again. With melody, I mean, there can be quite a bit of melody on this because there is nothing really happening.
Right. Done.
So after this, we get to know about what Waka's actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because after solving all those mysteries there, then Waka appears behind us.
Right. Yes.
He's basically,
pops up.
What are you doing here? Why are you in here? It's forbidden. It's like, yeah, but you're in here as well. Yeah, I'm a guardian. I'm allowed to. So basically, Waka is one of the guardians of the summoners that's in there. Which is also kind of weird that he's not in there.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, we see in the next scene that there is quite a lot of other guardians in there as well. there we go. So basically,
Hey,
Walker's there.
what's gotten into you? Hey, it's okay.
I don't know why it's okay,
Summoners,
but
apprentice summoners, and their guardians can enter here.
Yeah, not sure. Like,
It's
for
a tradition,
how
very important.
faithful
So what
he
about
is,
you?
he's pretty interestingly
Me?
chill about
I'm a
this.
guardian.
but maybe he knows that we don't know anything.
A guardian?
Possible, yes. I guess he doesn't want to be too strict.
So yeah. And we go down to the next area, and we get to know quite a few other characters.
Summoners go on a pilgrimage to pray at every temple in Spira.
This is important too. Pilgrimage of
Guardians
Summoners.
protect them.
Exactly.
And we hear the next theme already. Or like
The
next.
guardians in there now.
Now we have
One of them's got a
yeah,
sure
him of the
view.
faith again.
And who
Just
knows what the
single
others
voice,
thinking.
only the melody, no harmony whatsoever.
Well, now that we come this far, might as well go all the way.
Alright, so we are introduced to different characters here now. We are going to meet.
What are you doing here?
First one,
Didn't think we'd be able to handle it.
No, it's just.
excuses.
See, I told you she gets mad easy.
And the other guy who just ignores us.
Is the summoner all right?
This is also kind of weird, like, now that I'm standing like 20 centimeters away from you,
Who
Yeah.
are you?
can I only see you now? It's like, okay, sure. This also never made sense to me. I mean, maybe she was still hyper focused on being pissed at Walker, but
I guess.
it's never made. And this is by the way, this is the chamber we were talking about.
Yeah.
So the summoner is in there. And now the door opens and we can see the summoner for the first time. Here it is.
Yeah. And basically, we meet our second main character.
Yes. And yeah, she's really exhausted
Yeah.
there. What we talked about before.
Falls
Actually,
down the
even-
stairs.
This guy catches her. That's Kimari.
Yes.
He's a different race?
Species.
A runs species, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Also gonna learn more about later.
Yep.
Way later.
Yeah.
I've done it. I have become a summoner.
This acting is questionable here. Like, she smiles and is really proud and is like,
I've done it. I have become a summoner.
like, it's another recital. I have become a summoner.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's
okay.
a little weird.
I mean, one of the few things to complain about.
I mean, I guess
Voice acting.
in that case, that could be that's like, I mean, this is more speculation on my part, but how the cadence of this is something I can see working in Japanese way better,
Oh, yeah.
and because they have to like
Yeah,
fit, fit the whole rhythm to make it sync up with the lips and all that.
Yeah.
It gets this weird in English. It doesn't really flow like that. I guess that could work better in Japanese.
You're totally right. That's probably it.
Mm.
That's probably it. That's exactly what we talked about in the first episode. Right.
But yeah,
Yes, that's probably the explanation, but still, yeah. That's the one. But yeah, as we said before, we have like the Hymn of Faith again, but in like a different version, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, it's like compared to the first one we heard, it's a very stripped down version. We're going to hear a lot of those. It's like it comes up a lot of times, I think, with just the melody and no harmony whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then one with a lot of it at some point. But yeah, it's also here, it starts not on D, it starts on A, but it's also like Dorian mode again. No, nothing really else.
Yep, we talked about the rest already.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's it for this scene. She seems really proud to have become a summoner, though the voice actress seems unimpressed. Yes. Sometimes I'm so funny when I'm writing my own notes. Anyway. Yeah. After this, we go back out into the temple, where we hear the other version of the Hymn of the Faith again that we heard before. Tidus is quite surprised that the summoner, Yuna, is not an old dude in there, like a nearly dying
Yeah.
old person, but a young girl. So
Mhm.
that's quite surprising to Tidus. And then afterwards, we get in front of the temple, like basically back to Besaid Village, and we get to see what Yuna actually did in there.
Yes.
So here we hear the Hymn of Faith once again in the temple.
Which I always wondered, like a part of me always wondered if this is like diegetic, if like there's actually people in there continuously, perpetuously singing that hymn, or if it's just soundtrack. I don't think it's ever explained in the game.
It's not.
Either way, but a part of it. Or is it?
There is somehow. Yeah, I think it's okay to say this. In one of the later temples, where we get to know Shiva, after the temple, you can still hear, I mean, every temple basically has its own version of the hymn, which we just heard the first one, which is Beelvor's, the first summon we're going to meet. And Shiva is one of the summons, the fourth summon I think we got.
Something like that.
There's quite a lot of things happening there. And even after you left the temple, you can still hear the hymn. And they even talk about still hearing the hymn.
Ah, okay. Yeah, well, okay, I guess that
when
would
we
make
get
it...
there.
Yeah, that would make it like an in-world thing then.
But the thing is, they always talk about they talk specifically about the hymn that is played in the chamber. So it would make sense that this is actually something that the people in the world also hear, which is diegetic, and non-diegetic is only if it's only soundtrack, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this would be a good argument that the Hymn of Faith actually is one of the few diegetic pieces.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, maybe Spira Unplugged could also be one.
Yeah, but there could be someone sitting around just playing the song without
but there
end.
isn't actually, yeah. But yeah, it would actually make quite a bit of sense if everybody in the temple still sings the theme, because it's like one of the main motifs of the world, basically.
Yeah, maybe their holiest song.
Yeah, it is. And there is more story context on this late game that is so interesting. There's so much more to talk about the Hymn of Faith.
Yeah.
At the very end of this whole thing, I guess. But yeah, the Hymn of Faith is a really interesting one. So here, when we run out of the temple, there's no music for a little bit, which is also really cool, because that heightens the emotion of the next piece of music that comes up again. Walker just grabbing us like this. I can't see anything.
Ready.
That's such a cool light. And there, we can see what Yuna did in there. With the next theme that plays, which is called The Summoning, and is another piece by Nakano. But Tidus looking really closely at what Yuna is doing there. These are exactly. You can see the fireflies there already. Quite a bit of an extreme version of the fireflies, but still.
I mean, apparently we're summoning something extreme, or not us, but you know.
True. We are Tidus.
Right. We identify with one person.
Love blue eyes works perfectly. But yeah, we get to see this. I just want to say guy, but it's very probably a girl.
I'm not even sure if they are gendered at all.
I mean, Shiva clearly is.
You're right. Yeah, very, very clearly, yes. And
but then again, what would make sense, we heard a female voice singing in the camera, which doesn't have to mean anything, but would make sense. But yeah, everybody's really proud of Yuna.
It was a little scary.
I'm there.
But still, I could
Never seen anything like this in my life.
kind of gentleness
Xanarkand?
yeah.
And Animal? Tidus, this might be the first time that Tidus sees something that resembles an animal.
I remember.
True.
Because as we stated in the very beginning,
talked for the first time.
no birds,
Yeah,
I
no
didn't know
nature,
it
no
then.
nothing.
nothing.
But after that night, everything changed. For everyone. For me.
Alright, so let's move on to QAs again. I mean, as you can see, the remake already is a lot longer.
Oh yeah, wow.
There's quite a lot of difference there. Once again, this is also the menu theme?
Yeah,
It is. This is the menu theme.
Yeah. At least the Steam version.
Yep, it is in the original as well.
Yeah. So yes, basically that's the first thing you hear when you start up the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's always kind of weird when you hear the menu music back in the game again, because this is just the menu music to me.
Yeah.
I forgot that this was actually part of the game.
Me too. Absolutely. the only connection I make is I start the game, I hear this, then I press play.
Yeah, 10 seconds later, the theme is gone
Done.
again. This is the only reason why I realized that this version, the remake version, is actually longer.
Mhm.
Is because sometimes I had the start screen running for longer because I had to get something. And then somebody was like, hey, wait, there's something more happening. Like, let's let this play out for a bit. And after this, it completely strips back to just this. Just a glockenspiel or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And basically plays this thing over and over for quite a bit of a while. Then one...
I never listened to the remade one.
Yeah,
So
it just
that one.
basically builds up the whole track one by one again.
Okay.
Is this thing, the fluttery left-right kind of synth coming in again.
The arpeggios that are
Then
happening.
a little bit of a harp coming in for a long while. I'm just gonna skip ahead because
Sure. Now this comes in.
one by one the elements coming in again.
Yeah. Again, this track. I think the only thing that would resemble a melody for me is this da, 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 motif.
Yeah.
That's repeated.
Yeah,
Other
but
than that, nothing really discernible. It's just cool sound patterns or ostinatos
Sure.
and arpeggios just layered on top of each other.
and here I think it starts to get a bit interesting again. Because we have the bass notes fading again.
Right, we get some harmonic
On the right.
context.
Yep. This is kind of cool because we have a bit of a chord change there.
Where are we? F sharp minor to E minor.
I really like that.
Hmm?
I mean, this kind of justifies this version of the song, but then again, you're like very unlikely to actually hear this.
Yes, yes.
Because in the game, it's really, really short. But I like that part.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
And then
yeah.
this melody again. Melody. So yeah, this is kind of cool, but not too much
Yeah,
happening.
I mean, I guess it's for me, it's like similar to Phantoms, like another job done composition of like, especially
Yeah.
like the beginning, the short one. It has this very magical
It does.
thing because something very magical is happening in that moment. She
It is.
summons a big beast out of thin air, which also is like obedient to her and all that. So yeah, I guess it works. But apart from, I find it interesting that the long version just builds it back up piece by piece.
Yep.
It's kind of cool.
But also
But
kind of unnecessary because it plays for like 10 seconds.
yeah.
I mean, maybe to
guess.
like make the menu theme longer, I get that. but
Yeah, so
yeah.
it doesn't like loop instantly if someone stays in there.
Yeah.
But,
So basically, we only have like the harp, a little bit of the triangle thingy, basically. The moving left and right arpeggio thing.
Yeah, all these like fluttering elements.
Yep. I really like that. That's basically the thing I like most about this. But yeah, that's it, I guess.
Bless you.
Thank you. All right, yeah, I guess that's it for this track. Nothing much to say here.
Yeah, pretty much.
The build-up is
works.
kind of unnecessary, but then again, kind of cool. But yeah. All right. So I guess that's where we leave off today. All right.
You know, I think we learned something today. We learned that Waka is a nice dude with a religious background. Strolling along the shores and jungles of Besaid, we heard the beautiful theme of the island in its completely new all-piano arrangement. Arriving in Besaid village, we listened in on two guitar players that played one of the main themes of Spira in a very nice acoustic cover. Phantoms played while we learned a little bit more about Tidus' past with his father.
Also learned a bit about the religion of Yevon, religion of Spira, accompanied by the hymn of faith. Then we went in to save a summoner in grave, grave danger by solving some puzzles and lifting some really heavy spheres, because apparently we can only carry one in one hand. And at the very end, we saw Yuna perform her very first summoning, accompanied by a theme by Junya Nakano. But maybe this was just our hubris talking.
So thank you so much for watching.
See you in the next one.
Bye!